Hi, today I'm going to show you how to make a blank UV coated cap. As you can see, this is the WMB9 UV coated cap, and what I'm going to show you is mostly my struggles, as even though the process I used was really decent, I think it will work well. The results weren't that good. So as you can see in other UV coated cubes, you have a UV coating and a printed logo. The printed logo is under the UV coating, so you will need to remove both the UV coating and the logo to have a blank cap to be used mostly in blind solving, or if you want to put another logo on top of it. So first we will need to remove the UV coating and the logo. So if you use a normal cap, you will just remove it with an eraser or sugar, but now we will need to use the heavy duty stuff. We'll need to use 1000 grit sandpaper, and we also need to redo the UV coating. After that, we're going to use, in this case, UV top coat is nail polish, and this is the first try and I'm going to do using this material. So as I was saying, you will need to cure also the nail polish or the resin that you're going to use, because I'm going to use another material later to try to get better results. And we will need to use what I showed you, that was a UV lamp. So first I'm going to need to sand the UV coating, and as you can see, I'm sanding and it leaves a white dust, but the logo isn't harmed. That's because the UV coating is on top of the logo, and you will need to first sand until you remove all the UV coating, and then when you are done, you will have removed the UV coating and then the logo. Sanding is also important because you can create a rough surface for the resin to bind into, and that way the resin will just not peel off once it's cured on the surface of the cap. And it's also important to only sand and remove the parts there where the UV coating was, because that way the unsanded parts will just peel off when the resin is cured, and you can clean the piece really easily and after the curing process is done. So, as you were seeing, I was preparing a paper tissue with rubbing alcohol. That way I can clean the piece really well, and we can make sure that there is no extra plastic dust, resin dust, or any residues on the cap when we apply the UV coating afterwards. Because any contamination of the resin can result on yellowing, and it also will result if there's any dark residue in spots that you can get rid of, because they will be under the UV coating. And now that we have our clean cap, we need to make a base for us to manipulate the cap while we apply the resin and while we cure the resin, because if we touch the cap with resin on top of it, if it's not already completely cured, it's gonna leave fingerprints and the finish is gonna be terrible, because we need to have a really shiny and smooth finish. So we're gonna use this piece of cardboard, this piece of blue tack, and we're gonna clean our piece one last time before applying our resin. And while I'm still cleaning this cap, I'm gonna explain you really quick why I used top coat in this first try, because I had some really good results with top coat and some other ones that were really bad, but in general top coat can be a little inconsistent, but it's really hard and really shiny. So once it's cured, it's gonna have a really shiny surface that's not gonna scratch easily at all, and that way when you use the cube for a long time, the UV coating is not gonna have any marks, and it's not gonna look any different like a proper UV coating should look. And to apply the UV coating, as you will see, you will need to use the little brush that comes in the nail polish bottle, and you will add the UV coating and then brush it off until you have a smooth surface. You will also need to try to get rid of any bubble and any bump or small residue that can be there, because especially with top coat, it can have a lot of residue there, and you will need to clean it off really thoroughly. And as you will see, I have sped up the process a lot, because it was a 28-minute process, because getting rid of all the imperfections in top coat is really tedious. But once you get rid of all of those imperfections and go through the tedious process of cleaning that cap, you will be left with a really clean cap, and the finish will not look perfect at first, but it doesn't need to be, because As I'm gonna show you right now, this cap looks a little wavy. So let me change the focus a little bit to show you that. And now the cap looks a little wavy. That's because the little brush passes in one direction and leaves some marks, but it doesn't need to be perfect right now because it's still a liquid. It still will flow. We'll just need to cover it with something to prevent it from catching some dust that could contaminate the resin, and we will just need to leave it rest for a couple of minutes until the resin just settles itself, and it will even itself really well. As you can see, the resin is now way smoother, and it can go right now just to cure. So the time for curing is up to the person that is using the top coat that they bought, because most of the times a really good top coat might have a recommended time for curing, but sometimes if you bought, like me, a really cheap UV lamp, it may not have the power to go through the whole curing process in that time, so you may need to use some extra time. So I would recommend to not touch the cap until you're really sure that it's cured, and to try to just raise it a little from the borders to see if it's already cured. But once it's cured, as you can see, it's really smooth and shiny right now, and as you will see, it will also be really hard and really slippery. I can completely safely touch it, raise it and everything because it's completely cured, and I'll need to clean the excess of resin from the sides. You will just need to very carefully try to leave the excess of resin from the sides, and because we didn't sand the parts that we didn't want the resin to stick into, once you start peeling a little bit of the resin and pull it out, you can see that the resin doesn't stick to the parts that aren't sanded, so you can just peel it off almost all in one piece, and that's really good. And now that we have our clean cap, this is our residual resin that we took off in one piece. We can just try it in the cube. Some of the problems I face with using top coat, as you will see later, is that it can have some yellowing issues. The surface can look a little bumpy, and this one looks really good, but if you look carefully, the cap is slightly yellower than all the other parts of the cube, and the surface is a little bumpy, so that meant that I needed to try another approach, meaning that I'm gonna go through all the process again, but it should be worth it. So I'm gonna remove the resin with this 1000 grit sandpaper, and I'm gonna apply another kind of resin. I'm gonna use this one. This is the crystal clear resin. This is for arts and crafts. It should be relatively easy to find, and I'm gonna first sand the UV coating that I made with the top coat first, and then I'm gonna apply the resin. This one seems to be way easier to apply and work with than the other resin, because the top coat is way more viscous and it seems to have a lot more imperfections from the get-go, and they are relatively difficult to get rid of. So I'm just gonna drop a big drop of resin on top of the cap. I'm using a brush. I'm gonna just make a thin and even coat of resin on top of the cap. I'm gonna go through the sped up process of making the cap again. This process is way faster and isn't as sped up as the other one, because it was around 10 minutes and it was my first try using the resin, and after a lot of tries after that, 5 minutes seems to be around the time that one gets to do this whole process. So I'm just gonna go and cure this one. I leave it to rest like the other one. Just I'm gonna cure this, and then after it's cured, you can see that the finished product looks way nicer than the other one, because it's way smoother. It's has a color that matches way better with the other pieces of the cube. But this one, even though the result seems to be better, has a couple of problems too. This one is kind of soft and it kind of scratches too easily, so I wouldn't recommend using this one too. But at the end, seems to be a problem with the quality of the process. So the process, you can follow it and use it whatever you want, but the two products that I'll show you, the top coat that specifically that I used had a good scratch resistance. It was hard, it was shiny and smooth, but it was kind of yellowy, and this one has way better color and way smoother surface at the end, but it scratches kind of too easily. At the end, I got better results by mixing them both, but as you can see, you can go through the hassle of what I did. Oh, just go and buy a really good quality top coat or a good quality resin, and just try to make a couple of attempts in other things before doing it in the cap, and you're gonna see that it's not always the first try that goes well. So you will just need to keep trying and get a good result like this one.